Good morning. I just want you guys to see that. It's just magnificent. It's just full of like red and orange and some purple and pink. It's amazing. How you guys doing today? It's Tuesday. I don't know, some of you guys got a short week. I do. I'm not boasting, but it's nice. 3 days. I gotta be in here an hour earlier tomorrow. It's not like I get up early enough, but anyways, on the way to work today, God really placed in my heart something, and we all look to this season of Thanksgiving for giving thanks. And God just really kind of put in my heart and brought to my attention that this season of Thanksgiving is also a season of forgiveness. And I suppose all I really want to say on it is that life is short, people. Typically, the people you got a quarrel with, that you're holding a grudge against, just having a hard time forgiving, is somebody you love. Somebody that you love. And it seems like every day you have to carry a burden of a grudge. It's your burden. So, but this is a season where families are getting together to share food and to enjoy each other. And don't you think this would be a great season to reach out to those who may have not asked for your forgiveness, nor maybe they haven't deserved your forgiveness. But one thing I want to encourage you to do is just step outside of your comfort zone and forgive them. Forgive them. Seriously, truly forgive them, because we have all caused against another. We have all hurt somebody else. Every one of us have. And I'll tell you what, it's just so relieving to forgive. I'm not saying I'm the best forgiver in the world, but I like to forgive people. I love forgiving people. I love rejoining with people and having something that may have been lost. And for me, it's just worth so much more to just love the other person than to hold a grudge against them. So God placed that on my heart this morning, and I just want maybe to put that in your mind today, that as we approach this holiday, that we don't just think of it as a season of Thanksgiving, but as a season of forgiveness. I'm thankful for forgiveness. I'm thankful for God's grace. I'm thankful that God sent Jesus to the cross that we may be reconciled to him through his Son. Whoever believes in him, repents, and turns away from their sin shall be saved. Jesus says, "Who all calls upon me shall be saved." So, forgiveness is a big deal. And the other lasting point I want to say about that is that you sin multiple times against God. And when you come to God for forgiveness, what do you expect? You expect God to forgive you. So, let's put that right here, okay? Remember, God is willing to forgive you. Maybe put a willingness in you to forgive somebody else. And I just want to see that relationship restored. And I want to see a bridge that was once burned rebuilt. And I just can't get over I just can't get over that. Just forgive, please. All right, guys, today, let's read Psalm 78, 77 yesterday. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known. Our fathers have told us. We will not hide from them, their children, telling to the generation to come the praises of the Lord, and his strength and his wonderful works that he has done. For he established a testimony in Jacob, and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, the children who would be born, that they may arise and declare them to their children, that they may set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments, and may not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that did not set its heart right, and whose spirit was not faithful to God. The children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. They did not keep the covenant of God. They refused to walk in his law and forgot his works and his wonders that he had shown them. Marvelous things he did in the sight of their fathers. In the land of Egypt, in the field of Zoan, he divided the sea and caused them to pass through. He made the waters stand up like a heap. And in the daytime also he led them with the cloud. And all night with a light of fire he split the rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink in abundance like the depths. He also brought streams out of the rock and caused waters to run down like rivers. But they sinned even more against him. By rebelling against the Most High in the wilderness, they tested God in their heart. By asking for food of their fancy, yes, they spoke against God. They said, "Can God prepare a table in the wilderness?" Behold, he struck the rock, so that the waters gushed out and the streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Can he provide meat for his people? I mean, this kind of goes along with Thanksgiving. Therefore the Lord heard this and was furious. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Israel, because they did not believe in God, and they did not trust in his salvation. Yet he had commanded the clouds above, and opened the doors of heaven, had rained down manna on them to eat, and given them the bread of heaven. Men ate angels' food. He sent them food to the full. He caused an east wind to blow in the heavens, and by his power he brought in the south wind. He also rained meat on them like the dust, feathered fowl like the sand of the seas. And he let them fall in the midst of their camp, all around their dwellings, so that they ate and were well filled, for he gave them their own desire. They were not deprived of their craving, but while their food was still in their mouth, the wrath of God came against them, and slew the stoutest of them, and struck down the choicest men of Israel. In spite of this, they still sinned. I mean, can we relate to that? Bad things happening, we're still going on the wrong path. Therefore their days were consumed in futility, and their years in fear. Can we relate? When he slew them, when they sought him, and they returned and sought earnestly for God, then they remembered that God was their rock. Yes. And the Most High their Redeemer. Hallelujah. Nevertheless, they flattered him with their mouth, and they lied to him with their tongue. For their heart was not steadfast with him, nor were they faithful in his covenant. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity. I mean, talk about grace, guys. Come on, just what was these things I just said? But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity. Iniquity means lawlessness. And he did not destroy them. Yes, many a time he turned his anger away, and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that day that they were but flesh, a breath that passes away, it does not come again. How often they provoked him in the wilderness, and grieved him in the desert. Yes, again and again they tempted God, and limited the Holy One of Israel. They did not remember his power, the day when he redeemed them from the enemy, when he worked his signs in Egypt and his wonders in the field of Zoan, and turned their rivers into blood and their streams that they could not drink. He sent swarms of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. He also gave their crops to the caterpillar, and their labor to the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. He also gave up their cattle to hail, their flocks to fiery lightning. He cast on them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, indignation, trouble, by sending angels of destruction among them. He made a path for his anger. He did not spare their soul from death, but gave their life over to plague, and destroyed all the firstborn in Egypt, the first of their strength in the tents of Ham. But he made his own people go forth like sheep, and he guided them in the wilderness like a flock. And he led them on safely, so they did not fear. But the sea overwhelmed their enemies, and he brought them to his holy border. This mountain, which his right hand has acquired, has also drove out the nations before them, allotted them an inheritance by survey, and made the tribes of Israel dwell in their tents. Yet they tested and provoked the Most High God, and did not keep his testimonies, but turned back and acted unfaithfully like their fathers. They were turned aside like a deceitful bow, for they provoked him to anger with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their carved images. When God heard this, he was furious, and greatly abhorred Israel. So he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, and the tent he had placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity, and his glory into the enemy's hand. He also gave his people over to the sword, and was furious with his inheritance. The fire consumed the young men, and their maidens were not given in marriage. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. Then the Lord awoke as from sleep, like a mighty man who shouts because of wine, and he beat back his enemies. He put them perpetual reproach. Moreover, he rejected the tent of Joseph. He did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, but he chose the tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which he loved. And he built his sanctuary like the heights, like the earth which he had established forever. He also chose David his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. From following the ewes that had young, he had brought him to the shepherd Jacob his people, and Israel his inheritance. So he shepherded them according to the integrity of his heart, and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. All right, I know this was a really long one today, but really quick, I just want to say there's a lot in here, guys. There's so much in this passage, and it's just too much for me to break down right now. But I just encourage you to go to Psalm 78 and read that. I really feel it connects with our time in the world right now. I really feel it feels it connects with this week of Thanksgiving and forgiveness, and it really shows the love of God and the patience of God, and to show that God is not always, let me rephrase that God is willing to bless you again in your life. God is willing to bring the blessings into your life again. He's just being patient with you, waiting for you to make that move that he wants you to make. He doesn't want you to stay in this place. He wants you to grow. Okay, so I just want to show you one more thing before I go. If whoever makes it 13 minutes in this video, God bless you. But here we go. Look at that. Now praise God today, guys. I love you all. Have a good one.